Welcome to the Week 5 edition of the WyoVarsity Friday Night Recap video, sponsored by the Parkway Plaza Hotel and Convention Center here in Casper. I'm Sports Director Ross Jacobson of the Casper Star-Tribune. I remember a couple weeks ago I was saying Week 3 was pretty crazy and it'd be hard to top as the best week of the regular season. I think Week 5 did that. Overall, from 4A down, just nuts. Some scores throughout the state were just insane. We'll run through all the craziness right now, and we'll start in 4A. With the game that I think everyone was looking forward to, Sheridan versus Gillette in the Energy Bowl. Sheridan had a 14-6 lead, and then Gillette comes back, and they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The last one in a 1-minute drill led by Dalton Holst, and then Rue Ayton scores a 1-yard touchdown with seconds left for Gillette to retain the Energy Bowl trophy. So Gillette goes undefeated. They now have wins over NC and Sheridan. Really impressive. They're going to be the #1 team in our power poll when that's released next week. But you know what? It's the Camels to lose now. They've proven it against Gillette. They've proven it against Sheridan. They've proven it against Natrona. They're the #1 team, undisputed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that was far from the only game in 4A that was crazy. You look, Rock Springs and Evanston. Rock Springs was down late, and then they get an onside. They score. They get an onside kick. And then they get a late touchdown, too, to go and get a 28-27 victory, I believe, over Evanston. So Rock Springs with a nice win. Couple that with Cheyenne Central's surprising win over Cheyenne East. And the Tigers probably move into that #4 spot again. So back and forth, East versus Rock Springs. Who's going to be the 4? Who's going to be the 5? That might determine who's going to have home field advantage in that playoff spot if the two of those teams end up in the 4 or 5 spot and have to face each other in the quarterfinals. Kelly Walsh almost took it to Natrona County tonight, but the Mustangs were too much in the second half. They scored, I think, 14 unanswered or 13 unanswered in the second half and pulled away. And then Laramie got a nice win over Cheyenne South as well. So 4A was just nuts, and you know, the Oil Bowl was probably the least exciting game out of the bunch, even with the weather delays. So 4A is going to be interesting as we shape it out. Gillette really has the direct path to the #1 seed, and it looks like Sheridan and Natrona in Week 7 will be fighting it out for who gets that #2 spot and who potentially has home field advantage when you get into the semifinals if they end up in 2 and 3. Again, 4A was nuts, but you move it down. 3A, a game I listened to on the radio tonight, Torrington and Douglas. Douglas has been struggling this year, and Torrington was our #1 ranked team coming in, but that game was back and forth, lots of scoring, and Torrington edges Douglas 30-26. Big win for them. The most surprising score in 3A though, Worland 10, Cody 7. Yes, the defending champions go down again for the second week in a row, and they lose to Worland on a last-second field goal. We'll have more on that later. Jackson gets a nice win over Green River, and Star Valley, the Braves. What is there to say about that team? I've watched that team on the vidcast now 2 times in a row, and they look really good. They took it to Powell tonight, 42-21. Their running game strong, their defense even better. They could potentially be the #1 team in our power poll when the rankings are released next week. But the 3A West Conference is just insane. When you talk about Powell, Green River, Jackson, Cody, Star Valley, one of those teams is going to make the playoffs. Just unbelievable, the depth in that conference. That's probably, excluding 4A, the best conference in Wyoming right now, the 3A West. And we'll see what's going to happen with that. Cody's battling some injuries, but that's just an insane conference. It's so deep, and if you make it out of there undefeated, you have a good chance of going the rest of the way and winning a state title. So things are looking good for Star Valley. Things are looking good for Jackson. They play in Week 8, so that should be a matchup to watch, assuming both those teams are able to run the table the rest of the way. Down in 1A11, man, Lingle and Upton Sundance. Lingle comes away with a 20-13 win over Upton Sundance. A little minor upset over the #1 seed. So Upton Sundance no longer undefeated on the season. Lingle's only lost to a Nebraska team, so they're undefeated in state. But a really good win for Lingle. They've won 2 in a row now after losing that out-of-state battle a couple weeks ago. So Lingle looks like they're going to be the #1 team in the power poll. But 1A11, man, still really wide open. You throw in a team like Shoshone in there, and you've got a handful of contenders that can win it all, especially with Cokeville being a little bit down this year. But that's just a little bit of the craziness that went on this week in Week 5. Just following it was insane tonight. And so, per usual, we're going to give out the game balls. And because of so much that went on tonight, we're going to give out 4 game balls. I know we usually do 3, but we're going to give out 4. First one is going to go to the Star Valley defense, led by Chris Erickson. Erickson had 2 interceptions in the first half, and then the Braves had 4 total. They held Powell to 21, but really, you look at it, they were struggling a little bit in the first half of their offense, but the defense really kept them in it. That Star Valley defense, last week, they shut out Cody. They're really good. So, first game ball goes to Chris Erickson and the Star Valley defense. Second game ball goes to split between 2 opponents in the Torrington-Douglas game. Skylar Miller from Torrington and then Gage Pitt from Douglas. Gage Pitt had 3 touchdowns, 2 receiving, 1 running, and 2 of those were over 60 yards. He scored the first 3 touchdowns for Douglas tonight. Really kept the Panthers in it. But then on the other side, Skylar Miller, I know he was game ball last week, but I couldn't hold it back from him this week either. He runs the ball 29 times for more than 300 rushing yards and a couple scores. So Skylar Miller, I mean, what is there to say? I mean, him, and when you talk about Theo Dawson in 3A, they might have the 2 best running backs in the state in 3A. Game ball for the second week in a row to Skylar Miller. Third game ball goes to Gillette running back Rue Ayton. Ayton, like I said, scored the game-winning touchdown for Gillette against Sheridan tonight, and also had more than 100 yards. So what a comeback by Gillette. I know a lot of people, when they were coming into the fourth quarter, down 14-6, kind of thought that maybe Sheridan was going to run away with it a little bit, especially after a couple turnovers by Gillette. But unbelievable resolve by the Camels tonight. So third game ball goes to Rue Ayton with Gillette. Fourth game ball goes to Worland kicker Kyle Lamb. Kyle Lamb kicked a 43-yard game-winning field goal tonight to beat Cody. That is the first win for Worland since 2003, I believe, over Cody. So Kyle Lamb, game-winning field goal. High school kickers, never an easy thing, especially once you get over 40 yards. And God knows with Wyoming winds doing what they're doing, it's never easy. So Kyle Lamb, fourth game ball, bonus game ball from me for the game-winning field goal. That'll do it for this edition of the WyoVarsity Friday Night Recap. Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for staying up late.